evening. What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
All right, yo, let's get into it.
Try to take over the world. Try to take over the world.
And greatest chaplain in the world, Mr. Lance
Try
O'Neill.
to take over the world.
What's up, world? How y'all doing? We are here on a very special Sunday night. It's your boy KJ Bradley and the world's greatest chaplain, Mr. Lance O'Neill. We happy to see you. Happy early New Year's and happy belated Christmas. It's your boys, the Two Pogues, and we are here for a very special 45-minute edition of Two Pogues. We weren't going to see you guys originally, but as you know it, the world is full of chaos and we just could not stay away. What's that famous line from Godfather 2? Every time I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. And we're here. So we're here and we're going to talk about some greatness. I know Chappie got a lot of thoughts, so Chappie's going to be in the driver's seat today. But before we jump in, Chappie, how you been, man? How was your holidays?
I've been good. It's all good. I got my favorite Christmas gift was custom-made Dodgers hat. So don't sue for copyright, Los Angeles. You don't need the money.
Nice. Yeah, my wife got me a whole bag of trinkets that I have not yet dived into. It's like literally, I feel so bad, man. She goes all out. Christmas is her favorite holiday, so she always goes above and beyond. It's like a whole literal sack of gifts that I haven't dived into. I've been so busy with the kids and stuff, so I usually dive into it. I normally don't start opening my gifts until after her birthday, which is January 3rd, and then I spend all January kind of playing through all my Christmas gifts and stuff. So I'm looking forward to that after the holidays kind of settle down and I get everything cleaned up. But other than that, man, I've just been chilling and enjoying the chaos of my Raptors and Legos everywhere. We got Legos all over the house. Legos and slime. Legos and slime is my life, man.
No, I've banned the slime. I banned the slime from the house and it slowly made its way back, but then it's like it's only in the kitchen, only on the one table. Can't go up into the bedrooms. And this is with an 11-year-old. I can only imagine with the little munchkins.
Yeah, man. I tried. We tried, but it's just I don't know how, man. It gets everywhere. Bathrooms, bedrooms, hallways, carpet.
You can't have it in the house.
Yeah, it's just everywhere. It's everywhere, man. And then we got Play-Doh and Legos and slime and just and the noise of the toys, and it's just the chaos of the holidays, man. You just gotta freaking love it. But that's neither here nor there, man. We are here to talk business, and the business is politics, and oh my God, has business been good? What's up? So where do you want to start?
Well, I think we would actually be remiss not to send condolences to the Carter family. Jimmy Carter died today.
Indeed. That is one dude. He wrestled death for a very long time, man. I almost thought that he was going to continue fighting forever, man. I am impressed.
No, I think I would have Deadpooled him this year.
Really? With 2024? Yeah.
That picture that came out when he was so excited to vote for Vice President Harris, where he looked like a corpse.
Yeah.
I thought, there.
Well,
he's hanging on by a fingernail.
When his wife died, they gave him 6 weeks, and that was a year and a half ago, I think. So that joker, I mean, God bless him, man. He put up a good fight. He fought death tooth and nail. They wrestled all day and all night, but eventually, man.
It's interesting to see the difference in 100-year-olds because there was a picture. The BYU Colorado game, if you know, I'm a big BYU fan, and the BYU, according to ESPN, Colorado played somebody last night. We're not really sure who, but the Buffaloes played and their Heisman and Sanders, the quarterback, and all the team on the Buffalo, they played somebody. I'm not sure who, if you listen to the announcer, still not sure. But BYU took them to the woodshed. But they showed this 100-year-old woman that I guess is a big Colorado fan, and she has a relationship with Coach Sanders, and so she was down at the game, looked good. if you know, I'm LDS, and we have the president of our church, President Nelson's. He's 100 years old, and you see him out doing just everyday stuff, and it's crazy. You think, yeah, he looks. It's amazing what 100-year-old, healthy 100. You know, it's almost all or nothing with 100-year-olds.
Yeah. Yep. That's insane. God bless.
Anyway.
So
condolences to that family.
Indeed. They Jimmy Jr.'s he's thinking about getting back, throwing his hat back in the ring for governorship of Georgia. So man, that's gonna be a hell of a legacy, man. I'm excited. 2026 is gonna be an interesting year, man. I'm excited for what that family has to bring. I'm looking forward to them. They're thinking about getting back in the ring. So here we go. What's on your mind? Where do you want to go?
Well, we were scraping on it, and since we only have 45 minutes, we were scraping on the insult that the left has found, which is President Musk. Which I got to admit, it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny that now, okay, then you have to look into a little more, and you have to say, is it an insult that is actually finding its target? Like, is this something that actually does bother Trump, or does he just kind of laugh at it and go, whatever, I don't care? And that's where I you never know with the media, because the media thinks it's got something clever. Oh, look how clever. Oh, President Musk. If we just have, the Don's going to get so upset if we just keep calling it President Musk. That's really going to bother him. Meanwhile, Trump is the type of person who goes, I don't care. I won. Like, he was the dude who was going, winner, before Charlie Sheen did it, you know? So I don't really think it bothers him that much. But then you have, you know, the one that blew up this week was is it H-1B visa or HB1 visa?
H-1B visa. The
H-1B visa.
Yeah, that's what's got everybody in a frenzy right now.
So my understanding of the H-1B visa is that they are reserved specialized visas for people outside of the United States that have technical skills that are not available in the United States, or you need more to do that.
Yes.
And
best and the brightest, exceptionally talented.
So I have a couple of thoughts on that. I saw one that I thought was interesting is, if they are the best and the brightest, why aren't they staying in their own country to help their country get better? Which I understand, but on the other side, it's like, America's the land of opportunity, and there's probably better opportunity, especially when you're talking about very specific things. Let's say, like, engineers from India. You can be one of the best engineers in India, and my guess is your standard of living is still probably not as good as a mediocre engineer in the United States. So there is that. Do you want to come? I guess the conflict becomes, the way you said it was, MAGA, or I think you said it was MAGA gets mad when you tell them they aren't the best and the brightest.
Yep.
And I guess I can. So, well, I can see that, but also at the same time, I think that there's a difficulty, because now, okay, where do we go into what's real, what's messaging, what's true, what's arguments, right? Because I've seen people say, hey, here's my story, here's my son's story, so you get the anecdotal evidence, right? Of, well, my son was a 450 SAT, straight A's, but he couldn't get into UC Berkeley, which was his safety school, because he's a white male. And I sit there and I go, if you had a 1450 SATs, are you really not getting in because you're a white male? I guess it's possible. I see another one that's floating around the internet that says, of all openings, now maybe it's not all job openings. Maybe there was something a little more specific to it, but it said something like, of all S&P 100 new hires in the past 5 years, only 8% have gone to white males, even though white males are 31% of the population. Is that true? I don't know. And that's the problem with a lot of these arguments is I don't really trust the sources on either side. You can make statistics look how you want them to look in a lot of ways. Yeah. Right. And so I don't trust that there's just because somebody tweeted that and whether he was well known or not, I don't know. I don't know who he is. And even if he's I don't trust the Department of who sends out every quarter, the Department of Labor sends out that report that says there's been 250,000 new jobs, the jobs report every quarter, right? It's the Department of Labor.
I think so, yeah.
So you should be able to trust them. But for the past 4 years, they've gone back after every year or after every quarter, they've gone back and adjusted the numbers differently.
Yeah.
And so after the election, I believe they went back and readjusted the numbers down again for last year. And it's okay, so is this jobs report, was it inflated accidentally? Did they know that it wasn't really what it was? And now they're doing it because, well, the election's over. We don't need to prop up the numbers to make it look like the Biden administration was actually in a good spot. And if the job numbers are that bad, does that mean Trump is actually coming into a worse economic situation than if the jobs numbers were real? So that's the problem with, and you and I have talked now. We've been doing this we've been doing the pod for over a year, but you and I have just been doing our conversations for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm.
And the one consistent is I don't trust the media.
Oh, yeah.
And the media simply does not do its job. There are a handful of journalists, and I keep going back to Cheryl Atkinson. I saw something from Cheryl Atkinson this week where somebody, I don't even remember, it's just glancing where they said, kind of went off on her about something. And she's like, are you kidding? I've been demonetized because I was following the actual stats and the actual data. And this is where it led me. And this is what I reported. And that caused me financial harm. Now she's doing well, which is good for her. Yeah. Because I think on the other side, she does such a good job. It's hard to deny what a good journalist she is. And so there are so few that what do you trust? Like the H-1B visa, do I trust? Is there the only journalist I might even consider trusting on the H-1B is probably Cavuto, and he just retired. Jim Cramer, he's not a journalist. What was his name that was on Fox Business? Crudlow?
I think it's Cudlow.
Cudlow. And he was brought into the administration, 4 years ago. So do I really trust him to have the skinny? Nope, not really. I trust him to have his version. I don't trust any of the money people on MSNBC or so. And that's part of the problem is we don't have when the trust in the media is almost as low as the trust in Congress, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And
the media is pretty bad. I'm gonna work my way back on that because I think a couple of things. I'm gonna work backwards. Sure. So in regards to the SATs and the getting into college, they released a report, right? And I don't know if you remember a couple of months back. Remember when Liberty came on and we had that big conversation about affirmative action and how it's going to affect test scores and Asians being disproportionately. Well, it's been 2 years now since affirmative action has been adjusted, and a year since it was implemented in Ivy League schools. And the first reports have finally come out since affirmative action has come out. And the reports are shocking. Well, not to me, because I kind of saw this coming, but you'd be surprised. Enrollment rates are pretty much what I expected. Enrollment rates for African Americans have stayed the same. 9%. We are where we are right before affirmative action. Nothing changed. Enrollment rates for whites stayed the same. Enrollment rates for all other minorities reduced significantly. They were at about 12%. Now they're at 4%.
So who if whites and blacks stayed the same, who went down, then who went up? You have to have somebody go up. Or they just reduce the number of enrollments.
Reduce the number of enrollments, which is exactly what I said. Because affirmative action doesn't affect African Americans. It never did. It wasn't for us.
Was this just Ivy League, or were they specific Ivy League schools?
No, it was just overall. So the Department of Education released the numbers overall. And what I told you. So the numbers are where they are. And so if you got a 50-year average, right? And over 50 years, it says, hey, left, right, up or down, you're going to get about 9 to 12% African Americans, right? That's our number. Affirmative action doesn't affect us either way, right? The Civil Rights Act is what it is. We're locked in. But what it did was it allowed those Asian Americans, those Hispanic Americans, and all those other minorities to have a foot in the door, right? To have a place, right? But what happened, like I said, what happened is, I can't remember the dude's name, but he's now in the Trump administration. When he used those Asian Americans as a front face in Texas to get rid of affirmative action, because remember, he kept losing those cases when he had white students trying to dismiss the cases in affirmative action. But he started getting leverage when he used Asian Americans, right? So they did this whole propaganda campaign saying, hey, we're being discriminated against because we're disproportionately, my Asian American son with a 1400 SAT score can't get in because you're letting in a black kid with a 1200 SAT score because of affirmative action. So they used that and they got it through the Supreme Court, and they used that as a front to get rid of affirmative action, which worked, which was great. So, but now data shows, guess what? We're still where we are. African Americans still at 9%. And unfortunately, everybody else, sub 5%. I don't know if that trend is going to maintain itself, but for the last 2 years, enrollment has dropped significantly in college. But
that begs the question, though: what's more important as far as what we're looking at? Is it the micro data or the macro data? Because if you say the macro data has stayed consistent, let's say African Americans 9% has stayed pretty consistent. Let's say whites enrollment has stayed pretty consistent as, I don't know what, 55%. I don't even know the number, but
yeah.
And then the other ones have changed. So part of the problem with the affirmative action was specific schools too. So if you were intent on getting into a school, let me rephrase. If you're intent on going to college, you're going to go to college, right?
Right.
So if you say, let's say 10% of total enrollment is African American, because consistently that 10%, and the numbers get skewed because it's not actually 10%. It's not how it works. Total population, because blacks are 13% of the population, so 10%. Right. So 3% of blacks don't even attempt to go to college. 10% do. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, but you can get into school somewhere, and that's the thing, is you can always find a school. And so there's a difference between, is affirmative action keeping somebody from going into the highest levels of Harvard, Yale, the more select schools, MIT, USC, some of those schools, so where it doesn't really matter at the macro or the macro level, because you can get into any school. I don't know.
Well, I just pulled up this article and I'll share it with you. You probably can't read it, but I'll read it with you. Just based off of those two schools specifically. Bloomberg is reporting that in 2024, enrollment dropped to 24% from 30% the previous year at Yale and Princeton. The class saw a 2% decline among Asian American admits to 24%. So they lost about 6% overall year to year because of the Supreme Court's decision in both Yale and Princeton. With just
now
Asian
here's why this is not against the article or the numbers itself. This is why I'm dubious about the conclusion of the argument. Is that okay? So it went down by 2% by Asians. So did those schools cap and say, all right, well, we're not going to let as many people in general because both of those, what were the schools? Yale and Harvard were the two schools, correct?
That was just Yale and Princeton.
Yale and Princeton. Okay. Well, I know Yale. I'm not 100% on Princeton, but I know Yale is an at-need school. So basically, an at-need school means they only charge tuition for those that kind of can pay for it, right? So if somebody, like I have a friend who went to Yale, graduated from Yale. She basically paid zero in tuition. She came from a family that could not pay. She's Latina, from Arizona, a lot of challenges in the family. And so she was able to go and didn't pay a penny in tuition. So I also question if, because the money that they're spending is out of their endowments, did they simply say, you know what, we're going to let fewer kids in. That way we're not spending as much money, or we haven't had as much money being donated by our graduates and our alumni and all that stuff. So I'd be really curious. Like if I was a journalist, and so let's make this a journalistic critique. If I was a journalist, that's what I would be looking at. Not just here's the number, but I would want to be talking to the dean of admissions. I'd want to be knowing why there are fewer people. Did you have the same number of applications as you have in the past? What was your acceptance rate? What has that changed? If you want to break down the demographics and say this is the percent of applications, then let's break down the racial application by, each group by application, and then how many were accepted, and then why are there fewer? Like, what are the numbers? Why did they go down? What are the reasons? Like, if Yale or Harvard or Princeton wanted to have more students, they could. But they don't want to. They want to keep a certain level of students because
just to be fair, this article is coming from ASAM News, and it's published by the nonprofit Asian American Media Inc. And then it's reporting that the Latinx student population in the class of 28 increased by 1%, setting an all-time high on the Ivy League campus. And then it also reports that the white student population entering the class increased by 4% to 46%, while the percentage of Black and Native American students remained the same. So
and Asians went down.
Yeah, Asians went down from 30% to 24%.
So Asians went down from, and that's a big number. So it's not an equal number either, because Asians, Asian goes down and the others go up, yes, you can have that. But
so they're waiting on Harvard and MIT to be reported. And this article came out. I want to see if I can find the date. It doesn't have a date on here, but it does. I'm sorry. This came out September 5th, 2024.
Yeah, and so what I'm saying is, like, there's a way as a journalist you can report numbers and just say these are the five. Okay, who, what, where, when, why, right? So it's got the who, the what, the where, and the when. But what it's kind of missing there is the why. Mm-hmm. And that's where you want to go in as a journalist, or as a good journalist would go in. And this is nothing against, the source. Yeah. But when you're going in and you're saying, why is this happening? And so what's the result? So I don't even have to go in and say, here's my conclusion is why, as a journalist, why. I should be going to the people that understand this, meaning the administration and the admissions office, and saying, all right, and the registrar, why is this happening the way it's happening? What's the difference? You're showing. So because the Supreme Court has ruled the way it has, Asians have gone down 6%. Why? Is it because now you're able to have fewer Asians? Have you internally capped that? Now, do I expect Yale to say, yes, we internally capped it at 24%? No, of course not, right?
Yeah.
But if it went down 6%, you're telling me that Asia, after however many years, the quality of Asian students dropped by 6%
in a year
to go in
a
year.
year. They were
So that makes
expecting.
me think there's.
They were expecting it to double. They were expecting the acceptance rate to double at a minimum at these Ivy League schools, with the bar of affirmative action being taken out. But it's like a lot of people who were versed in affirmative action expected, like, hey man, this wasn't a benefit for us. Like, affirmative action was a it was for everybody, but say la vie.
So KJ, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Were African American players by rule banned from playing in Major League Baseball in the first half of the 19th century?
Yes.
By rule?
By rule. No. By society standards, not by rule.
Right. By the owners.
Yeah.
The owners got together and said, we're not going to have any black players.
Yeah.
Right. Until the Dodger ownership, Walter O'Malley came in and said, hey.
It was like, you know what?
Okay. Yeah. Right. So, and it took, even after Jackie broke the color barrier, it took a while.
Exactly.
And it took across all sports. It took Bear Haskins when he brought in the full black team at UTEP, who ended up playing. I don't think they were called UTEP back then. I think they were West Texas.
West Texas.
But it took them a while. But for the NCAA start going, hey, you know what? Maybe everybody should have black players, right? So it was this unspoken rule. So to me, I look at like Yale and Harvard and these administrative offices. And do I think that they have a rule that sits down and says, we are going to reduce our Asian population from 30% to 24%? No. Do you think that they got the message that, hey, this group sued us? And so
we're going to send a message. We're going to send a message.
Legally, we're going to absolutely follow. I was just watching a clip of The Incredibles, right?
Yeah.
You say, okay, so you remember when Bob gets pulled into the boss's office?
Yeah.
He says, I'm not happy, Bob.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I don't know why. Ask me why I'm not happy. Why? Be specific, Bob.
Yeah.
Why aren't you happy? Because everybody, and he says, and Bob says, am I doing something illegal? Or no, are we not supposed to be helping our clients? Yeah. The law requires that I answer, we are, Bob. The law, right? So it's kind of like that. I'd like to see somebody turn that into the whole, aren't we supposed to just hire the best people that are coming to the college? The law requires that we say we are, Bob.
Exactly.
But that's the kind of thing. And, to kind of take a full circle, I think that's kind of what's going on. The H1, the H1B, I think that it's one of those things that while you and Vivek came out and he said basically like, well, there's this culture thing. And so, you have, if we bring in people from other countries, they're hungrier. Let's just be honest about it. They're hungrier coming in and want jobs. Well, I guess that's possible. I mean, I'm not a big fan of handing anybody a job, but you're telling me that there aren't Americans that are good enough at programmers or electrical engineers or whatever. And then when you start looking at the numbers of what the H1B visas, these aren't all high top end. You can't find them anywhere else. I think what it is you can get these guys that are talented, really incredibly smart people and pay them a lower percentage than you could somebody who's here, an American, just like everything else. I don't have a problem if you bring somebody in and they're talented. I don't have a problem with that at all. If there's nobody there, if it truly is a shortfall, I just don't like companies. It's the same reason that I've said The illegal immigration problem could be fixed in a day. It is the simplest thing, and I will beat the drum on this. All you have to do is pass a law that says any person or company that hires somebody who is illegally in this country, the company who is paying that individual or hired that individual will pay a fine of $10,000 per day per person, per individual. Never be a problem again, right? So what would that do? All right. So you need a liberty. You can say I'm wrong all you want. I'm not wrong, because that would stop illegal immigrants. Employers of illegals follow the law. That's why I just said, Liberty, if you listen, I said if you passed that law, that would stop employment of illegals. If you were to find the company, okay, so Liberty's on here, and he says he employers of illegals follow the law. I know I employed many. Okay, cool. So without bringing Liberty in, we're going to call Liberty LLC has hired illegals to do whatever job for him. If there's a law that's passed on January 20th that says every single company or individual that has hired an illegal immigrant or just somebody that is illegally in this country, that could be an overstayed visa, that could be whatever, then what you would do is have that fine. Nobody would hire those people anymore. You would have to have that document, right? And if they're not legal, hey, if they fool you and you can prove that it was fooled, I think there has to be a better way of checking it. And that's why biometrics comes in, right? You want to have I have no problem with migrant workers at all. Somebody wants to come in for a set amount of time. Cool. Somebody wants to apply for a green card. Cool. I have no problem with any legal immigration at all. And if you're talking about people who are coming in, you want to come in and I don't know. I don't want to be racist and be like, oh, if you want to come in, mow lawns and be a gardener. Well, no, you can also come in and be a rocket engineer for all I care. But if you're coming in and your visa says you can, or a migrant status says you can only be here for 6 months, and then you have to leave the country and reapply, cool. And then it's biometric. And there's a way to do this. It's not that hard. The biometric technology is there, but we don't want to do it because it's cheaper to hire somebody who's in the country illegally. Even somebody on the H-1B visa is generally cheaper. The difference is rule of law. You either have that's flat out wrong. Liberty, you're wrong on that. Now, there may be certain situations where they ask for the same amount, but if you look at almost any industry that is high manual labor, unskilled labor, from dishwasher to gardening to digging ditches to road work to whatever, if you can hire an illegal immigrant, you do, because you pay them less. And that's okay, cool. But if you want to have rule of law and you want to have a country that is supposed to have borders, supply and demand, and it doesn't matter if they're here. If somebody is here illegally, it's illegal, and that's where I'm saying you have to. This is why I hate stuff like this, because now I'm responding directly to this, right? Okay. We either have a country or we don't, right? We either have laws or we don't. When I went to Taiwan as a missionary, now we're only 45 minutes, so we're not going to have time tonight. Because we only have like 10 more minutes. You're on a hard
11 and 15. 11 and 15 counting.
Okay. So when I went to Taiwan, I was a missionary in Taiwan. When I landed, we had to go to the police station and write what your name was, have our pictures taken. We had a book. And when you moved, because as missionaries, you would move around, live in one city and then you go to another. So I went from Songshan to, at one point I was in Zhonghe, I was in Shilin, Wanhua. So each of these times I moved, I had to go to the police station, sign out, go to the next police station sign in with the police. They stamped it and everything, right? And the police at any point could have come up and said, hey, we had to have it on our person at all times. And if we didn't have it, we could get kicked out of the country. Okay. So I don't understand why people think that in our country, it should just be okay, fine, big deal, no big deal if people are here illegally. I think that there is a rule of law. There's a reason you have things like legal immigration. Oh, totally agree. That's why we don't have any comprehensive reform. But when KJ and I do Tupac Save the World, we're talking about what should happen. We're talking about what if we want to fix problems. And we have both said many, many times that Congress is there to justify Congress being there.
That's it.
And I think Mike Lee said something today or one of the others. It was like, what is the number one thing that you'd like to see Congress fix? What's the most pressing issue? I think everybody kind of put term limits. We didn't even talk about this. Okay, we only have like a few minutes. There was a Republican congresswoman who disappeared 6 months ago. Stopped showing up for votes. Her staff stopped answering questions. Now, you know where she was? She was in a hospital, a in-care facility for people with dementia.
Yeah.
She has some form of Alzheimer's or dementia, cannot work. So instead of her staff coming out and saying, hey, she needs to, you know what, Liberty, I used to think that, but then I realized American people are too stupid. I don't trust the American voter. And here's why. KJ and I were talking about this before we came on, because I've seen, and I'm sure everybody has seen at least one of these videos where the guy, whoever it is, gets on and goes, I don't see why everybody thinks Trump is so great. We had the elections 2 months ago and he hasn't done anything yet. I don't know. Well, why are we even thinking he's such a good guy? He hasn't done anything. And it's like, these people actually believe this. Yeah, they actually believe it. And I believe you, Liberty. There are dummies in Congress. And that's why I don't trust voters. And that's why I think there should be term limits, let alone the fact that the average leadership position is held by a 75-year-old right now. I think it's actually older than that. Nancy Pelosi just fell down in Italy and broke her hip. Grandmas fall down and break their hips. Old grandmas fall down and break their hips. Younger can too. But in general, again, this woman was, instead of her staff coming out and saying she needed to be resigned, they sat on it. Why? Because they're part of the swamp. And this is a Republican I'm talking against. I am a conservative. Okay. And so I'm not here defending her. I think that was absolutely horrible by her staff. I wish there was a way to say anybody on her staff that was part of this should be banned from working in Washington, D.C. It won't, because as much as the problem of the stupidity of the voters, I think another big part of the problem is the swamp itself. You have these people that have become career, not even the deep state stuff, but people that have lived in and lived off of the government. Now, there's some exceptions. Military is definitely an exception. Military, I don't consider living off of the government. It's just a completely different thing, right? But you have people
definitely living off
DOD civilians, though, absolutely live off the government. I've worked with DOD civilians that I think I had it out with a DOD civilian. Gosh, now it would have been well over 10 years ago now. They were saying everybody in your unit needs a top secret clearance. And I was like, wait, what? We had cooks in this unit. I was like, and I was the security guy. I was like, what are you talking about? Well, that's the policy. I was brand new into the unit. They didn't have it. Their intel shop wasn't set up. I was rebuilding it. I said, really, why are we doing that? And they said, well, that's the policy. Okay, send me the policy letter. About a month go by, and they hey, have you worked on any of your people that don't have the security clearances? I said, I haven't seen the policy letter yet. Well, it's coming. It's in the work. And it's like, okay, as soon as you give it to me, I'll do it. well, no, that's not how it works. You need to do this. I said, no, I don't. That's not what if you know military MTO, the MTO is it lists what everybody needs from equipment and clearances and all that. The MTO is certain people had it top secret, some people had secret, right? So that's what you go by. And I was like, nope, that's not what I'm doing. Oh, hey, you better do this, or we're gonna have to tell people, we're gonna have to let the bosses that know. I was like, you can tell them all you want. Who do you want me to call? I'll call right now. So, and it's funny. Then I started getting the phone calls from them. Hey, why aren't you doing this? I said, send me an email. Well, no, you need to do this. Send me an email. The best thing in the Army is send me an email. If you don't want to do something because you think it's hinky, send me an email. I'll get as soon as I get.
I'll get right on it. Yeah,
I'll get right on it as soon as I get that email, because they know now you've got a record. Now you're covered, and you're like, hey, I know you're wrong. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong to your face, but you're wrong. Or, there were, KJ, I'm sure you had plenty of times. It's like, hey, Big Sarge, show me where that says that in regulation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know where it is. I had a major tell me, well, Sergeant O'Neill, you know that's not what you're supposed to do. Sir, is it? I'm trying to be nice here, sir, but can you show me where that is?
Yeah.
Well, just, Sergeant O'Neill, that's how you're supposed to do it. I said, sir, if that's what you're supposed to do, it'd be written down in regulation, because we work in an organization that tells you where you can blouse your boots. So that's AR 670-1 between the second and third eyelet.
We keep it really simple in the military. If it's not written down, then it's like, I assure you.
I had a guy when I was in Kuwait. I was walking around with my water bottle hanging off my belt. This is a E6 staff sergeant. And he goes, hey, chaplain, can I tell you something? I was like, yeah, what's up, dude? He goes, hey, you can't have that water bottle hanging off your belt. Really? Why not? He goes, it's in regulation. I said, what regulation? AR 670-1. I said, really? I'll tell you what. AR 670-1 says there's only one thing that can't hang off your uniform. It's not a water bottle. Can you tell me what it is? Well, no. I said, and I did this. I was in the chow hall when I did it. I went, well, I guess you need to go figure it out then.
That's it. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many people have never actually read the actual regulation. It's mind-blowing.
I think that's a part of why people hated me as a chaplain. I think that was part of it, was he's too hard to work with. Why? Because I actually say what's right and I actually follow the regulations as they're written.
But the military is like one of and that's why I stress to people all the time. The military is the easiest no-fail job in the world. From the time you enlist to the time you become a platoon sergeant, you can't fail. You have literally step-by-step instructions on how to succeed. Follow the damn book. It tells you what to do. You cannot fail. You literally cannot fail. That is a literally by the book occupation where you cannot fail. And you'd be surprised. People mess it up. I for the life of me, I don't understand. I have soldiers all the time. How do I get promoted? Read this book. What else do you want me to tell you? It's really that simple. How do I read this book? What do I need to do to get promotion points? Read this book.
And then the joke becomes, look, if Sergeant First Class so-and-so can get promoted, anyone can.
Anyone, because he read the book. It's like
I had an S1. I'm not kidding. I am not exaggerating when I said this. I knew a staff sergeant that got promoted to Sergeant First Class who could not connect a laptop to the projector, did not know how to do it. And that person made Sergeant First Class. And that was my first. If they can make it, anyone can.
It wasn't in the book. It wasn't in the manual. And that's why I tell people all the time, like the military is like I God bless it, man, because it changed my life, and I'm so grateful for it. But man, when you finally realize, like, people give the military so much credit, and then you realize just how fail safe the military is, you be like, holy shit, society just, God bless you. You put way too much trust in the military.
Okay, here's my final thought on this note. Final thought: if anybody tells you something is military grade, do not buy it.
Stay away.
Military grade? Nope. It means that it was built by the lowest contractor, the lowest price contractor for the cheapest amount they could possibly make. I have a story I'm gonna have to tell you offline about Army standard, but military grade, just stay away from it.
God, I can believe it. I can actually believe it, man.
I believe that, Liberty. Absolutely. So, hey, we'll let you go because I know your kids. The movie time's up.
Yes.
So
we have to go watch Shark Tales. Shark Tales. Anyway, man, Happy New Year. Liberty, thanks for joining in. Chappie, I will see you guys on the backside of 2025, Lord willing. Man, you guys have
stay on for a second, KJ.
Indeed. All right, everybody else, we will see you guys on the backside. Have a Happy New Year, everyone. Talk to you guys later. Au revoir.
Gee, Ray, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
All right, yo, let's get into it.
Try to take over the world. Try to take over the world.
And greatest chaplain in the world, Mr. Lance O'Neill.
Try to take over the world.